I will grudgingly admit that I occasionally succumb to the allure of the golden arches and the primal appeal of a McDonald's meal. I've been known to enjoy the simple pleasure of a McNugget or nine, dipped into a pot of sweet barbecue sauce in a service station car park, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. But very few people with functioning taste buds would argue that McDonald's makes the best burger on the planet, or that their fries represent the pinnacle of culinary achievement. Yet they are absolutely everywhere. They're the global go-to for super fast sustenance. Which kind of got me thinking, who is the McDonald's of the digger world? Now, in our game, we love to talk about the elite, high-end kit, just as food critics love to fawn over Michelin stars. But the construction world doesn't run exclusively on steak and lobster. It runs on volume, availability, and predictability. So if we look at the global machinery landscape through the grease-stained lens of the fast food industry, where do the major players actually sit? Now, your immediate instinct might be to point a finger across the Atlantic and shout, Caterpillar! And it makes sense on paper. They're big, they're American, and they're wrapped in a corporate yellow that's not too far removed from the McDonald's mustard. And they are utterly ubiquitous. If you ask a child to draw a tractor or a digger, they'll probably paint it cat yellow, just as a child asked to draw a burger will subconsciously sketch a Big Mac. But the Caterpillar as McDonald's theory falls apart the moment you look at the actual iron. Some of their products, notably the Cat 352 excavator and virtually all of their heavy dozers and wheel loaders, are elite level machines. They're engineered to operate in the brutal, unforgiving environments of deep quarries and massive infrastructure projects for tens of thousands of hours. That is not digger fast food, that's digger fine dining. You don't buy a D11 dozer because you need a quick, cheap fix to get you through the afternoon. You buy it as a long-term, high-yield capital investment. Caterpillar has too much premium steak on the menu to wear the paper crown. And on the other end of the spectrum, it's probably tempting to point to the Chinese brands that have flooded the market over the last decade, the likes of LiuGong, Sany, Sunward, and XCMG. And not so long ago, that probably would have been the perfect, undeniable answer. Like a late night McDonald's run after a few pints, they were cheap, cheerful, and fairly satisfying at the moment of purchase. However, once the machine arrived on site and the initial financial euphoria wore off, consumers were often left with distinct pangs of regret as they hunted for non-existent spare parts or watched the resale value fall off a cliff. But that is no longer the case. For one thing, the recent imposition of anti-dumping tariffs has at least partly levelled the playing field on price, meaning they're no longer the bargain basement option they once were. Moreover, the machines themselves have evolved rapidly. Some Chinese excavators have proved themselves to be way more than a make-do snack until the main course comes along. They're serious contenders, meaning they've outgrown the cheap and cheerful fast food bracket. We can completely rule out Liebherr and Volvo too. They operate in an entirely different sphere of existence. If you're buying a 100-ton Liebherr mining excavator or a Volvo articulated hauler, you're purchasing the digger equivalent of prime Wagyu beef and truffle fries. The engineering is precise. The cabs are more comfortable than most homes, and that is reflected in the price tag. They're just simply too posh for the drive-through. Then there's JCB, and some might argue that the roaster giant fits the bill because they dominate the backhoe market so completely that their name became a generic trademark for every digger on earth. But JCB isn't McDonald's. JCB is more a full English breakfast or a proper fish and chips traditionalist. It's comfort food for those who know what they like and like what they know. It's British, it's robust, it relies on a loyal customer base that values familiarity, and it doesn't care about mimicking American corporate uniformity. So who is left when the fryer grease clears? After looking at the global market fairly closely, the answer, to me at least, becomes fairly obvious. Three brands perfectly encapsulate the McDonald's ethos in the modern plant world: Develon, Hitachi, and Hyundai. These three manufacturers have mastered a specific, highly lucrative art form. They don't build questionable food truck burgers that are likely to give you a dodgy stomach. Equally, they're not Gordon Ramsay's take on a digger, adorned with gold leaf and an invoice to match. They're straight, no nonsense, honest machines that are widely available and wildly popular. You know exactly what you're going to get, no matter where you are in the country or the world. If you climb into the cab of a 13-ton Hyundai or a Develon excavator in a muddy field in Yorkshire, it will feel, operate, and perform exactly the same as one working on a utility project in the suburbs of Chicago. It is a triumph of predictable quality. Now, I want to reiterate with absolute clarity this comparison is not intended as an insult. In fact, quite the opposite. Building a machine that can compete at the highest level of performance while remaining accessible, reliable, and affordable to the mass market is arguably a greater engineering feat than building a low volume luxury product. I like fine dining and Michelin starred restaurants as much as the next guy. There are days when the occasion demands a 5-course tasting menu of high-end German or Swedish engineering. But there are times when a Big Mac and a large fries is precisely what you need.